All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Reviews. And yeah, it's been a minute since I've done anything substantial on my channel. I just did a video last night, though, and it was the night before Game of Thrones' new spin off series, prequel series, set 172 years before the birth of Daenerys Targaryen. It's House of the Dragon. If everybody knows that this was coming. Uh, the show was coming finally. What were we gonna get? All the different ways that they were thinking about making shows and still shows that they're going to be making from this universe, and all the baggage that comes with, and the reaction to the final couple of seasons of the original series and how that was taken by many of the fandom, including myself, um, as they caught up to the books and got really fan fictiony. And it was kind of it was like this last time. It was a weird time on YouTube because it was kind of like the beginning of, to me, negativity's always been on YouTube, but I kind of see like the last season of Game of Thrones was like the beginning of this real hatefulness that started to really take hold on YouTube. So if you're coming here to this channel, and I want to say hi to Deborah in the chat. Um, if you came here to listen to somebody badmouth it needlessly, like the clowns over at the Fandom Menace and people like that shit stained Gary from Nerdrotic, or that jerk off at Geeks and Gamers, or that fuckball the Doomcock guy, or any of those people that spread ignorance and hate for no reason other than clicks and likes and to stir up more ignorance and hate. That's not going to be here. This is just going to be a basic look at this show, at this first episode of this show. It's not really too fair to compare it to the original series. To me, this is something else. I like that first off, I like that I don't like really know anybody from this cast outside of Matt Smith. And even I'm not that familiar with Matt Smith because I never watched Doctor Who. I didn't watch his run on Doctor Who. But I think what I have to say here is valid and pretty balanced about this. The first thing I'm going to say about this first episode is that the production is there. I think the acting is good. And maybe it's the conditioning. Maybe it's the years and years that we watched the original Game of Thrones and read the books and got used to the subversion of expectations that was in his books and in the first few seasons of the show. That we might see a lot of things coming, predictable, if you will. And I kind of feel like that's one of the things that I walk away from this is, despite the production, despite the acting, despite most of the writing, it was pretty predictable. Even when I thought I was wrong, it turned out I was right. I'm not really going to spoil anything here because this is meant to just be a quick take. I will leave it to people who are better than me at this to deep dive into this. And if it gets more interesting, I will probably, come back and talk more about other episodes. Another thing about this show that didn't really do it for me is the characters. But this is a personal thing, and I fully expect that since this is only the first episode, I would think that the characters will have plenty of time to grow. But this is where I do compare it to the first show. And that is that the characters in the first series, the original series, they just came off they just popped off the screen. And yeah, if you read like the books, you did have images in your head, and they did kind of fit those roles that they, especially in the first season, which was pretty close to the books. They were just really interesting. Everybody had a lot of personality, and it did help. It did help a lot. and you had Peter Dinklage, and you had Lena Headey, and you had Sean Bean, and you had, just all these great talents that came out of that first show. But again, as the show goes on, I fully expect to start picking out who I'm going to like more and more in this. I'm really looking forward to see what they're going to do with Rise Ifans' hand character. I like that, and I do want to see what Matt Smith is going to get up to in this show as well. But for the most part, it was just kind of dull in a way. I kept waiting for and it's maybe not fair to say this, but I kept waiting for something truly shocking. Maybe that's the subversion of expectations. And somebody will go, a woman getting, what happens to the queen in this? What do I think is shocking enough to rattle my cage? Maybe I'm desensitized a little bit. I don't know. But it just felt like pretty by the numbers stuff. And and as a personal thing, we live in this fantasy world in this show, not personally, maybe a little bit, but in this show, this fantasy world that's clearly a Earth, an Earth, a planet, whatever. They could do whatever they wanted in this world, this fantasy world. And I just when it comes to these things like the tournaments and in the jousting and stuff, I'm like, you could do anything you want. You could think up any kind of crazy barbaric fight that men could get into, and we're still jousting. And as much as I respect the strength that it takes to joust, if you choose to joust, it's boring to me. I didn't like A Knight's Tale, and I liked Heath Ledger a lot, but it didn't change the fact that I'm not interested. And the only time I perked up is when everybody just started beating the ever living shit out of each other, because at least it wasn't jousting. But I wish I had, I didn't want to spoil anything, really. The dragons look good. The production, again, like I said, looks great. It does make me wonder, though, because when they were talking about nearing the end of the original series, that people were so tired and they just wanted to go home. And then here we are, just a few years later, and to make this show, right, it had to have started a while ago, right? So that means that everybody that was, and I have to assume that a lot of this is the same production, they've got the same people. So what, they just were looking for a better show? I don't know. But it's still pretty good. It's still pretty entertaining. I enjoyed it. I don't really have much more to say other than that. And if you feel like this was a waste of time when you click on this, it's because I'm just trying to knock the dust off myself and making content. And I always suck at the first one. I think my background is doing a better job right now than I am. But I'm being honest. And I don't think I've come off as unfair. I might want to look into the history of the Targaryens more, because that's one thing I didn't remember all these names that they were rattling off, and the history of it. And I also kind of wish it took place a lot longer than 172 years before the birth of Daenerys. That's a personal thing. And again, I fully expect this show to improve. I fully expect to be a lot more engaged than I was this time. But again, if we're going to compare, and I know it's not fair, the first season's first episode of the original series was just far and away better than this. And while as I was watching it, I could see how all the ignorant hate channels, I could see all the things that they were going to pick out to try to nitpick and get you to hate this show because of diversity or women or all the crummy ways that people talk about things because they've got something missing inside their fucking souls. But when I saw that big giant dragon skull, all I thought was, I want to see what happened back then, that far back. Let's do Star Wars, The Old Republic, go that far back. let's not keep it so close to the original timeline. You know, they were Targaryens and Baratheons and Starks a long, long time ago. And maybe they'll still do that. And maybe they were afraid to do that. Maybe they were like, we got to find a sweet spot in history to hit so that we don't feel like we're alienating the people who love the original series, yet those who may be tired a little bit of getting too close to that. I don't know. And it feels like they're trying to please everybody. But guess what? It's 2022. In the current state of this world, you are not going to please hardly anybody anymore. So all I do is hope that people out there give it a fair shake like I did. I didn't expect much from this, but it's still pretty entertaining and definitely worth checking it out. I mean, if you have HBO Max, what else are you going to do but watch reruns of Game of Thrones and Sopranos anyway? So, and while it's still HBO Max, I don't know what they're going to call it in a little while. So anyway, that's it. That's my quick little take on this. Yeah, have a great night, everybody. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.